We were just here in a jungle playing games, and now we're going to make some games. Games like Small Towers. Small Towers is a game for chat, and it's kind of done. I saw one bug the other day. Really should track that down. We're at the place where tracking the bugs down is a long effort. Yeah, we'll call that stress testing. Anyway, right now, what we're thinking of is art for, in fact, gosh darn, I forgot to do this again. It's not Fortnite, it's art. I forgot. My bad. We are making games, not variety games. Yes, okay. There we go. What we have is a list of names of cards for our battle card game called Shuffle Wars. That sounds like a silly name. So are these names. 50 cards, all with silly, over-the-top fantasy forces and creatures. Yeah, these are cards you bring into battle, and it's over-the-top battle stuff. So we've done a few of these. Wow, we're almost halfway, actually. That's cool. We did Generator Overload, which is crazy. Angled Deflectors. Oh my goodness. And now Hyperdrive. You get a theme here. I was probably watching Star Wars when I did these. Point is, this is a speed card. A card with a 10 out of 10 for speed. This is a power card, defense card. This is a speed card. Hyperdrive. Yeah, we've done some crazy ones that are really hard to figure out. What we're trying to do is art that describes the character design. Even if it's not a character. Angled Deflectors is not a character, but we need to figure out what it looks like, because right now it's just a name. We need to figure out what Hyperdrive looks like. It's going to be a portrait. We'll do the portrait stuff later, but before then, we kind of need to figure out what does this look like? Hyperdrive. I don't know. So, yes, later we will do a portrait. We will think of the card that the player is looking at, and we will say, as they look at this card and decide what they want, it'll say Hyperdrive, but there will be a portrait. It'll be a nice painting, a composed image with like lighting and color and all this stuff here. There'll be stats on the card, blah, blah, blah. But then the name and this portrait need to fit. It needs to make sense. Right now, it's literally been in name only, and you can play the game that way, but this is going to be better because we're supporting the idea of over-the-top fantasy creatures and forces, in this case, a speed card called Hyperdrive. And I'm stalling. So eventually we'll have some character and we'll say, cool, then we'll compose the image to be this and it will look like that, and and we'll make the portrait. But before then, I actually need to know, what does a Hyperdrive look like? Man, I think I purposely picked names that are really hard to figure out. Like, we did Unstoppable Force. We did Immovable Object. Yeah, we did these things. And Generator Overload, I mean, there was a generator. That's not too hard. Angled Deflectors, it just took us a little while to figure out what the object is that can angle and have a deflector on it. Yeah. But Hyperdrive? Man. Okay. We're going to have something and I will compose the image later. But for right now, I need to know if I use the word hyperdrive, that's good. That's a good start. I could almost put anything in the picture and the name will tell them, sure, but I need to support the name. I need the visual to support the idea that it is a speed force, fantasy force that helps your battle. Your side of the battle is helped because this speed card is in your formation. It is the hyperdrive, and therefore, yeah, it's going to attack first. That kind of thing. It's fast. It's a speed card. Hyperdrive. Well, it's got to be technological, right? It's got to be technology. It has to be sci-fi. There's no other way to think of it. Right? So we're going to make use of mechanical and angles and that kind of thing. Sure. We could even have a control panel. That sounds decent. Believe it or not, I am not stalling anymore. I'm just trying to figure this out. If we have a control panel with lights and dials and switches and things, you know, and it says hyperdrive, I'm in the ballpark. I'm getting it, sort of. But we need, like, special sci-fi device. We need, cables and switches and things and yeah, we just clutter it with stuff. Yeah, it sounds pretty good. In general, I think that's the right idea. This panel, of course, cannot be hyperdrive. Come on now. If it were like a transmission of a car, and by the way, did you know that whole Star Wars lore and the technology and all that stuff is totally based off the idea of car culture? Because George Lucas was kind of into that. He thought that was darn cool. There's a reason he did American Graffiti first. But like if you sort of if you squint and think about the dialogue and the things that that Chewie and Han Solo are talking about all the time, they're totally talking about their hot rod, the Millennium Falcon. Their pride and joy, fiddling with the engine and the bits and things to get it to work. Like, it breaks down and they have to, like, get under the hood. And I mean, literally, it's car culture. What I'm saying is, let's go with that for a second. I already did, like, overload of generator thing, and I used the cylinder, which I think in sci-fi terms is a little outdated. But what I like about it is it's recognizable as mechanical stuff, as a machine that does work for us that is useful, you know? So I'm stalling a little bit, just playing with the idea that a lot of stuff on this shape, this device, this thing, could reasonably be called hyperdrive, if the name is there. And You know, to be honest, maybe echoing this shape would be helpful. Oops. And not exactly like that, but like you know, this begins to do rhythm, which is nice. Actually, yeah. Oops. It kind of feels more, I mean, it's very substantial. When I put this much stuff on it, it feels like a substantial thing. I don't know where I'm going with this yet. I mean, in case that wasn't clear. I have no idea what I'm doing. Okay. This this feels more substantial, like a big piece of machinery that's meant to be here. It has to be doing something very important. We called it hyperdrive, so I mean, that sounds like a thing. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is doing the job yet. Definitely looking big. It's looking like a machine. It's feeling like it should be doing something important. I don't know. Is this helpful? Not sure yet. This could be it. This could be it. Where there's like extra stuff. Yeah, I think more stuff is definitely in order. Like, it's so substantial, there's a place to work on it. But also, like, we talked about the purpose, or no, the goals of visual effects. The goals of visual effects are visual effects are more effective when the audience is overwhelmed. It is far less effective. In fact, it's ineffective if the audience is sitting there pulling apart the different pieces that you put into the effect. If they're saying like, oh yeah, there's a piece of fire, a layer of smoke, and a couple of sparks. If they can do that in the short time you show them the effect, you kind of lost. They are not going, wow, explosion. They are saying individual effects piled together. And they may not be effects developers. That's true. But what we aim for is distraction. Truly. It's way more effective if the audience is so overwhelmed that they go, oh, wow, explosion. There's too many layers, too many pieces of it to keep track of. Right? In that way, I'm kind of doing the same thing here. I'm saying there's so many pieces to this technological thing. I don't mind having a big focus like these large bits. That's fine. Like I said, it wouldn't really make a lot of sense to have like big cylinder things rotating unless it was a mechanical thing, but this is like science fiction. This really wouldn't make a lot of sense. But it does help that it's big, and the repetition also basically reinforces that this is important. So I'm going to have these big pieces to seal the show. I'll highlight them like this and say, this is absolutely part of something that is big and important. But also, there's so many extra pieces to it because it is complicated. It is, science fiction stuff. And you're not meant to really figure this out. Like, if you are, I lost. So I think same thing like visual effects. I want to sort of overload this with pieces and things such that you're overwhelmed. I think that's appropriate. So the more variation and contrast I can throw into this thing, the better. Yeah, I think so. In that way, I'm adding one element after another into this design, trying to assert that each of these has an important function in a much larger, more complex contraption. If you see the name hyperdrive and you see just a whole lot of complexity, I think you kind of need to be overwhelmed. You need to say like, oh yeah, done. Right? That's what I'm hoping for. And so, more bits, yes? Absolutely. More bits. I'm going to have like a hose kind of a thing come over here, hook into another bit of structure with some echoes of pieces I've done elsewhere, and try to make it look like this is intentional and necessary for the function of this very large complex contraption thingy. And it has all these pieces to it, and you can't keep track of that. Some dials and meters on this thing, and buttons. Yeah, where this could also be fed into this. where it's not just one hose or tube, but it's like multiple. That's fine. I'll use a heavy outline like this to sort of assert the silhouette to kind of find a balance between here's a whole bunch of complexity you can't keep track of, and here's some basic shapes you can keep track of. All right. So I'll echo that here. Okay. Right. Now, let's see what we can do with this. Because part of what I can use in the complexity of it is lights, tone, shading, such. Let's try this first. This is going to help accent the main pieces that I'm trying to say are the bulk of this contraption. And I'll let that be focus. And there we go. Need to clean up too much, but if I want to really assert this silhouette, I need to have an edge. So this will work. Okay. Now, with that large shape asserted, I'm immediately clued in on the separation between this and that, which is helpful. I'm throwing a lot of complexity into the image on purpose. Now with this, I can balance it and say, here's a little bit of clarity. You can separate this with this tone. It's easier to see the difference in value here. Just using gray. In fact, I think I'll just keep it that way. I don't need color yet. Let's work with this for a little while. Yes. Cool. Now, the tone is helping. In fact, how does this look? It's like lights, right? I mean, What sci-fi thing does not have lights on it, right? It must. Yeah, 100%. Oops. Cool. So, all right. I don't know if I need more separation here. Maybe. I mean, what I'm adding now is to the complexity. I'm balancing back and forth between adding complexity and adding clarity. Right? It's not saying too much definitively. It's not meant to. Yeah, maybe not. It's not meant to. The only thing I am asserting is that this has an intentional structure. After that, no. I'm not saying anything about it. Whatever the structure is, it's hidden to you, the viewer, because sci-fi. Basically what I'm saying. Is this enough? That is the question. That is the question. I would have, I would be hard pressed to try and figure out what else should be here. Only because I'm not sure what a hyperdrive needs. But, yeah. I think we're in the ballpark. I think we're coming close. Let's put tone on this and see if that's enough. Because we do want heavy to be a part of this. Like heavy machinery is okay. I'm down with that. So putting this in dark tone is cool. Yeah, I think so. I think this is appropriate. Okay. So, I mean, what do I know, right? Let's try a little more detail to pretend that there is some detail to see here. What I mean is, let's go a little bit more in the direction of adding stuff so that it feels more complex. And let's see if that helps. Again, if we overwhelm the user and they just say, oh, whatever, that's a hyperdrive, I feel like that's a win. There you go. So I'll go with that. Yeah. I'm squinting and looking for the places that don't have a copious amount of detail yet and saying, here's an opportunity to throw a little extra in there. With the idea that the more we add, the more likely we are to overwhelm the user, which is exactly what we need to do for this particular task. Is that helpful? Is this helpful? I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure yet. I mean, it's a little confusing, which is almost what we want. Almost, right? There's rhythm to it, there's variation, there's contrast. Okay, this might be too much. Yeah, that's too much. Yeah, okay. Okay. Am I feeling like this is a hyperdrive yet? I'm on the fence, I gotta be honest. There's enough complexity here that says, wow, this is a really intense machine. You know, cool. There's enough emphasis on a major structure to say it's intentional, it does powerful things. So that's good. I'm finding my way to talk myself into this. I think I'm close to talking myself into this. Maybe. Now I'm doing details that are really too hard to see. So I think I've reached some point. Is this the point where I stop? I don't know. I mean, look, if you said this is a hyperdrive, I'd have to say, oh, okay. I mean, what else would I say, right? Do I need color? I don't think I do, actually. I mean, I don't know. You tell me, what does a hyperdrive look like? No idea. This is okay. It's okay, and listen, if I have to take this structure, and I don't have any other choice, this is the structure I have to use, and I do the portrait based on this structure, you know, it works. I'm there. I can figure that out. That's okay, you know. Yeah. Yeah, I think I mean, could it be more? Could it be different? Of course. But I think we got it. If you say hyperdrive and I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, whatever. I mean, you could easily have said generator, and I would have been like, okay, whatever. Like, what do I know? You could have said time machine. I'd be like, okay, sure. What do I know, right? Instead of sweating over that, I will call it good. We can say this is hyperdrive. Cool. This has been an ape making games in a jungle. No way. Way! We're in a jungle. And we like to make games. Kind of like the game down below called Small Towers. It says now streaming no game. What? What are you talking about there? Oh, wow. I meant to say art. Did I just not click the button? Silly me. Sorry about that. Anyway, we're good. We have a hyperdrive. And we're doing this for a battle card game that we call Shuffle Wars. That's a silly name, and so is everything else about it. It does not take itself too seriously, which is good. Over-the-top battles with fantasy creatures and forces. Being a hero, you know, it's all good. And if you're interested in making games as well as playing games, then follow and be notified. And when you show up on stream, please use Command Tie. Command Tie lets me know that you are here. I promise to say, you're here. If you do this, I promise. I'll do my part. You do yours, right? Okay, until then, have fun. Do well, be good, stay safe. See ya.